Hello, I'm hiding. I painted this weekend. What do you think? I love it. It's like green. I think it looks a little bit like our bathroom suite years ago. My mum and dad's house. It's not quite avocado, it's more pistachio. But yeah, I painted it and I'm really pleased. And I've only got sort of 90% of the paint on my hands. Anyway, I'm having a moment to sit down because all weekend I've been painting and it's frankly exhausting. But Storm Amy was here, so what else are you going to do? Paint. And then I started reading the papers, and it's just an error, isn't it? When you're in quite a good mood and then you read the papers and you see what's going on in the world and you just think, oh, here we go again. It'll come as no surprise that it's Bridget Phillipson that's irritated me significantly. And do you know why? Because she's got two jobs that she's crap at. So we've got the education secretary role that she's rubbish at, and we'll talk about this more in an article that's out this weekend about how the government have completely underestimated how many kids are leaving the independent sector and what that looks like. But also how many more of them are girls. So girls are faring worse than boys in the VAT on education cull. And Bridget Phillipson is the education secretary, but she's also the women and equalities minister or something or other. So it's like, okay, brilliant. So you're closing schools on your watch as education minister and you're targeting girls. I mean, what else are we going to do? So I'll give you the article because we need to put this into context. And you know me, I can never find things when I want them. It's in the Times. And it's girls' schools are losing pupils faster than the rest of the private sector since Labour put VAT on fees, a survey has found. A poll of 1,150 private schools showed a decline of 16,696 students in the last year to last month, equating to 3.6%. That's the greatest decline since records began in 1982. The ISC, Independent School Council, said the drop showed the government had underestimated the impact of its policy to charge VAT on school fees, which took effect in January. The survey also suggests that girls are faring worse than boys. Pupil numbers fell by 2.7% at boys' schools and 3.6% at co-ed schools and 4.5% at girls' schools. The data excludes any further decline as a result of school closures because only schools that were still open were surveyed. So the ISC goes on to say it believes that 81 private schools have closed since July last year, and it talks about significant schools. Now, obviously, you and I know, we've talked about this at length, that the government said that this wasn't going to happen. They said these schools weren't going to close. They said that they could cope with the kids going into the state sector and it was all going to be rosy and we were going to get loads of money from this and it was going to go into schools. What we know is that we don't have loads of money from this. It's not going into schools anyway. It's going into social housing. State can't cope. There are no places for the kids that are being having to leave. Sorry, I'm having to move that so we can actually look each other in the eye. We know there's no places for the children that are having to leave. And we know that minorities are being the most severely affected. So with that, we can just see it's the girls. It's also children with special educational needs and disabilities, and faith schools and vocational schools. So on the whole, every kind of school that could be a school has been targeted badly by Bridget Phillipson's VAT on education, yet she is still the education secretary. Catherine Birbalsingh did a couple of good interviews. She did one with Amal Rajan on Radio 4, so much better than Nick Robinson, and one with or in the Daily Mail or something. And she's talking about, she doesn't mind having a boss, as she calls the education secretary. She doesn't mind, there being an education secretary. What she deeply minds is that it's somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. And, you get to a point with this where you go, we can't make it personal. I can't constantly personally attack Bridget Phillipson. Yet she made it personal because she's the one that used her own ideology to attack kids and through their education. So she has actively imposed a policy that has meant that tens of thousands of children have been displaced. And what's even worse is she's then got together with all the big I ams in Labour and said, but we'll stop recording this after September 2025. So there will be no more figures. They've decided that's it now. So we will never know the true extent unless somebody goes round and takes it upon themselves to go round and actually do the numbers themselves. We will not know. And why will we not know? Because they don't want us to know. Because it then exposes more than ever that this was never about money. This was about ideology. And I just find it incredulous that we've got this woman in these two positions of power where she's acting against both of the people that she's supposed to be helping, which is children and women and girls. And there is no arguing with that. There is no, oh yeah, but she might be this, she might be that. No, it's fact. She's factually damaging the outcomes for children and girls. So how long do we keep her in this role for? How long do we say that's okay? Now, she wants to be deputy leader of the Labour Party, which sort of part of me thinks might be a good idea, because then it gets her off the job of education and women and equalities. But who else is she going to target then? I mean, none of us are safe. And when people say, God, you're always going on about Bridget Phillipson, well, yeah, but she's not always going to be the education secretary. At some point, she will be something else. And if we can see how she can attack children and women with her policies, no one's safe from her at all. So there you go. That's what I wanted to talk about. But because I painted my room green is supposed to be calming. So I'm going to have a moment of calm, and I'm absolutely fessing up to this. And I'm not even sorry. Do you know what? I saw this yesterday and I said to my other half, oh, they've painted it the same colour as we have. And he said, oh, always on point, darling. I was like, yeah, bet theirs isn't Dulux. I did laugh. I saw a comment on TikTok the other day about it from an old video when I used to do them in the snug. And they were like, I can't ever moan about money because I live in a wood panelled something or other house with antiques everywhere. And I was like, oh my God, never have I known such judgment and assumption in my life. I just say it's my style. It has very little to do. Sorry, I'm just being called by somebody. This is a family thing. Did you do this? Have you used that? Have we got this? People don't look. They don't look with their eyes or their hands. They just ask. So what he wants to know is, did I use all the goose fat? No, I didn't. I just put it on the shelf instead of leaving it on the table where he'd left it. I put it on the shelf in the pantry where all the food goes, like the jars and everything. But instead of actually looking for it, it's much easier to shout and ask me, taking it off his to-do list and putting it on mine. I best away and go and find the goose fat.